You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron. Now here's your host, Ethan Hristodoulou.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Hristodoulou, and today, as we do, it's Thursday, which means Thursday Night Football, Week 6. We have Eagles, Giants, NFC East clash to kick off week number 6. We got plenty to discuss, plenty to dive into with this matchup. So as I always say, comment down below. Let me hear from you, your thoughts, your opinions on the matchup, who's coming out on top and why. We are coming off of a couple of tough weeks of predictions, I've got to say. And this is why I always stress, there is no betting, no gambling, no any sort of recommendations going on here. I'm just here to talk ball with you all, make my best educated guess, and keep things moving. And last week at 5-9, it was not pretty. The week prior finished 500, so a couple of tough weeks, last one being a kick in the teeth. So we're going to try to get back on track here with this Eagles-Giants matchup. And you, of course, have Jaxson Dart, who's coming off of a pretty ugly performance for himself and just an overall ugly performance for the Giants offense as a whole. That being said, Philadelphia coming off of a blown opportunity to put the Broncos away several times and dropping their first game of the season. Both of these teams are coming in now basically hoping for a bit of a get-right game. And if you're having to guess who's probably coming away with this win, I think that somebody is heavily favored a little bit more than the other in this one. But I don't want to just write off New York off the jump. I do think that there is an actual way and a route for the Giants to follow to come away with a victory in this game. And I think it has to do with the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. The O-line has not been perfect this season, and I would say it's probably not quite as good as it was last season. How big that gap is between last year and this year is totally up for discussion, but you look at how things fared against a Denver Broncos front that is arguably the best in the NFL this season. 6 sacks, and on top of that, 15 total pressures throughout that game, led to some poor throws from Jalen Hurts' end. Overall, it's one of those things that has been a little bit surprising, I would say, about the Eagles. Now, the Giants' pass rush, not necessarily the most threatening in the NFL right now. They're currently tied at 18th with a few teams with only 10 sacks on the season, but they do create a lot of pressure, and pressure creates opportunities. They're currently sitting on 79 total pressures this season, which actually puts them at 4th most in the NFL. So they're getting after QBs. They're just maybe not quite finishing the job. And well, it's great to obviously set a drive back, get a sack, sometimes 6, 7, 8 yards, maybe more, depending on how big of a play it ends up being. That's always nice. Even just generating that type of pressure, making a quarterback uncomfortable, and maybe throw a pass a little bit early, a little too late, a little too high, a little too low, whatever that may be. This is where the Giants need to step up and need those guys on that defensive front to have themselves a game. You look at Brian Burns, you look at Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter on the interior, a Dexter Lawrence who has yet to notch a single sack this season. These are guys that you want to come in and make a statement performance. It's got to be in this game here. And on top of that, with the O-line shakiness, I guess you could say, with Philadelphia so far this season, Landon Dickerson out for this matchup. He will not be here as well on this short week. So you have a little bit of weakness on the interior of the O-line, and you have a group of pass rushers who are effective at least at generating pressure. Maybe this is the game where they finally have that coming out party and they can really get after the quarterback and take Jalen Hurts down a few times. That's probably like the win condition for the Giants. If they can't disrupt Jalen Hurts, who you saw last week, couple of overthrows in some key spots, maybe looked a little bit rattled in certain situations, throwing the football, that is your opportunity right there. Now, that being said, Giants offensively in a bit of a situation as it stands. We highlighted Jaxson Dart off the top. 3 turnovers for him last week. It was not a pretty performance. The entire offense finished with 5 total turnovers on the game against a New Orleans Saints team that has admittedly played their opponents very tough this season and proved to be a tough team at home in New Orleans against. But you look at the struggles from Jaxson Dart. Darius Slayton is out for this game. You obviously lost Malik Neighbors a couple of weeks ago. You're in a tough spot as far as pass catchers are concerned. Like, your lead guys right now are Wan'Dale Robinson and Theo Johnson. And no disrespect to either of those guys, but not necessarily household names. Wan'Dale Robinson can be good for some big splash plays here and there, but it's not exactly the most, it's not who you were hoping to be maybe coming into this game with, I guess, to put it simply. Now, you're getting Tyrone Tracy back, which I do think will be an excellent compliment, not only as a running back to Cam Scatabo and what they could do just coming out of the backfield, but as a pass catcher as well. Tyrone Tracy can catch the ball and make some moves with it in his hand. So I do think that there are some opportunities there, but the Giants offense is in a hell of a spot, to put it simply. Now, for Philadelphia, it's really just about kind of staying out of your own way, not making mistakes, not costing yourself opportunities. We go back to last week's game. You look at what happened in that loss against Denver. You have two extremely costly penalties later in the football game with the Zach Bond unnecessary roughness. You had the illegal shift that you had going on there because a wide receiver adjusted himself while Saquon Barkley was moving. So those types of things, they need to go away. And on Jalen Hurts, as I briefly mentioned, some of the killer overthrows, got to dial it in. You got to make those passes. There were multiple opportunities where Jalen Hurts had the defense beat deep and simply sailed the ball. He's got to be better in those situations. It does feel like the Philadelphia Eagles offense is going through like a little bit of an evolution. And I don't want to say identity crisis because they're still putting up some solid numbers in games. It's just a matter of they're not quite what they were last season. There's also some noise surrounding A.J. Brown's happiness and potentially even Devontae Smith as well. And like you look at Saquon Barkley's performance this season, and it's not nearly what it was last season. Off 82 attempts, fourth most in the NFL. He's averaging just a small 3.2 yards per attempt, where last season, I mean, that was a number that was 2 to 3 yards higher, depending on at what point in the season you're talking. So it's one of those things where the offense is still clearly trying to find itself and figure itself out. It feels like they're more willing to throw the football. And again, going back to the O-line not being quite as dominant as last season, maybe it has something to do with that, not getting and generating as much push up front in the run game. Maybe they're trying to test the pass pro a little bit more and rely on Jalen Hurts' arm a little bit more, as the critics are all saying he can't throw the football. Although I feel like I have seen otherwise over the years, but it's a conversation that's being had. So I will be very curious to see how this kind of next step in the what feels like a bit of an evolution for this Eagles offense looks like going up against a Giants team that has a pretty good defensive front and a solid defense overall. Just an offense on that side of the ball that really scares me going up against a Philadelphia Eagles defense. That being said, as for who I think is going to win this contest here, the Eagles are heavy favorites. Again, no betting conversation here, but I do like to check out just kind of what Vegas thinks from time to time, and this is one of those matchups where it felt lopsided to me, confirmed by Vegas themselves thinking it's at least a 7-point differential, so a touchdown or more potentially for the Eagles front on wins. I do think the Eagles come away with the victory in this game here. It could be a tighter contest than I think some people are anticipating, though. Again, if they can get after the quarterback, the Giants, that is, they can disrupt Jalen Hurts. If that defensive front can hold up and continue to bottle up Saquon Barkley the way he has been handled for the most part this season, the Giants can keep it close. You have a rookie quarterback, though, and an offense that is not clearly the way it should look at this point in the season, with so many skill players missing time over various stretches so far this season and now going forward as well. It's going to be an uphill battle. If the Giants want to win, it's got to be through defense. It's got to be through forcing Philadelphia to make a mistake or two here or there, which we've seen from them so far this season. They are capable of doing. They can do wrong, and you can take advantage. The Broncos literally did it last week. So you're going to need to look for some of that if you're at the Giants end, but I like Philadelphia. I think something along the lines of like a not super runaway game by any means for the Eagles, but like if you showed me like 27-20, maybe even a little bit closer than that with a lower score, maybe 24-20, 24-17, 21-17. Like I could see the Giants really making the Eagles earn this contest. I don't know if it's going to be a runaway. And I know by saying that, I'm probably jinxing myself and the Eagles are going to blow the doors off the Giants. That is very much on the table because you got Vic Fangio chomping at the bit, ready to take on a rookie quarterback. And I feel like that defense over there in Philadelphia is a bit of a problem, but there is an opportunity there for the Giants to at least hang around, make things a little bit more complicated than maybe the Eagles would like that game to be. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Who's coming out on top on Thursday Night Football? Do you have the Giants for the upset? Do you have the Eagles going away with a dominant win? Or maybe, again, the Giants making them earn it a little bit more. But as always, if you made it to the end, I greatly appreciate it. I will see you all tomorrow for the rest of predictions on Sunday. And of course, as we do on Sunday, we'll preview the Monday Night Football games as well. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. But until next time, have a good one.